Today's video is called Why Do We Awaken to the Matrix First? Evolutionary astrologer Jeffrey Wolf Green says that 70 to 80% of the population on Earth are in what he calls a consensus state. I'm going to read you a quick definition of what a consensus state is. People in a consensus state, their underlying desire is to conform to the consensus of any society, culture, tribe, or country. Thus, such souls' entire orientation to reality, including their values, their sense of meaning for life, moralities, customs, norms, taboos, what is considered right and wrong, and so on, are simply an extension of whatever society they were born into. In essence, reality for such people is merely an extension of the external conditioning that the consensus of any group of people provides. What that means is, what Mr. Green is saying is, and I agree with this, 70 to 80% of the world's population is basically unable to think for themselves. They just follow the consensus of whatever group they identify with. An example may be political, where someone will just vote for a certain chosen political party across the board, regardless of issues or candidates. Religion, most people who believe that the Bible is the literal, inerrant word of God and are fundamentalists, are in a consensus state. They never really look into the history of the Bible or how it was written or who it was written by or why it was written, to do their own research, to decide for themselves. Someone may trust their physician, their primary care doctor, and instead of doing some research into the efficacy of medical treatments, will ask their doctor what they think, without ever thinking that this is that person's job to give them that treatment. So you get it. Some people call this group of people NPCs, non-playable characters. So 70% of the world's population, 70% falls into this category. A lot of people post-pandemic, post-2020, have been having an awakening out of the consensus state. I think that's awesome. I see more and more, so many young people are waking up to what the reality of what's going on, the corruption across the board, all institutions, government, religion, corporations, all corrupt, all feeding you their version of reality that they prefer you to accept. So of course, most people are moving from that consensus state of just thinking with the herd, having their awakening, into what is called the individuated state. It means you develop some discernment, critical thinking skills, and awaken that innate sense of morality, that innate knowledge of good and evil. That if you watch my video entitled Deconstructing the Bible, the Garden of Eden, I go into a bit of detail how I believe that eating the fruit from the tree of knowledge was really God's way of fully making us in his image after his likeness, that we needed that innate sense of morality to evolve spiritually. So such a large group now on Earth is awakening, moving from that consensus state into an individuated state. I'll give you a quick definition of what Mr. Green says the individuated state is. In the individuated state, instead of the soul being defined by the consensus of a group to shape its sense of reality and its personal identity, the soul now desires to discover who and what it is independent of such conditioning. So awakening is moving to an individuated state, where now you're looking to understand how things work and make your own judgments on what you believe and disbelieve, not based on what you're taught in school or what the media tells you or your parents or your particular religion or social group. You're moving into having discernment. And this is important for evolution, to move to that next step in our evolution, to create that new earth, to create the new society. We have to be able to see good and evil and make a true discernment of this. Although it appears to be good, it appears to be an angel of light, it's really Satan himself wearing a guise of an angel, biblically speaking. We have to discern that. We can't just go with what we're told, because it's coming out now. We've probably been bamboozled for thousands of years by our so-called leaders of religious, governmental, and within the last couple hundred years, corporate. And we're waking up to that, and you can see where society is starting to crumble and fall apart a little bit, because people are just like, oh man, I'm finally seeing the truth. These Epstein files, look what's coming out now, what it's doing. Life gives us these little tests. Did you take the experimental medical treatment in 2021? What do you think of President Biden? What do you think of President Trump? What's your take on ICE? I'm not going to go into the politics of it, but all these things where it really makes you go, is that opportunity the universe is giving us to wake up, to move, to evolve spiritually out of a very consensus, just following the herd mind, into a position where you can think for yourself, you can think critically, you can use your own discernment, you can base your decisions on logic and on research and on intuition too, and on how you feel, rather than just going along with what you've been programmed to believe your whole life. Thanks for watching this. Made it this far. Consider subscribing to my channel, please. Give me a like. Let me know what you think. I'm going to do a few more videos on this topic. It is called spiritual evolution. Into it a little deeper next time. And till then,